Hi everyone, if you are juggling to balance your homeschooling life and your real life and all the things you have to do, there are 3 things that I want you to write down right now. You can write them down in your notebook or in your notes app or wherever you are. Just write them down and start doing them. They're so simple. You're going to teach your child 1 lesson per day, and 1 lesson, all right? And then you're going to do 1 session of independent work time with your child, and then 3, the third is the most important.
Well, it's self-care.
It's self-care, of course. Yeah, it is so easy to get overwhelmed with homeschooling and all the things that you have to do.
Yeah, for sure. Whether you are in a position fortunate enough to be able to do it full-time, or you're juggling a job and household work and homeschooling, it's a lot. It can be a lot, especially when you have multiples. We know a lot of folks out there. We certainly have more than one.
Yes.
We have 2 sons, and we know some folks out there have a whole bunch of kids that they're trying to homeschool. It's just a lot to balance. And every one of those kids needs your attention. And well, frankly, you may not be getting the rest and sleep you need. So you got all the stuff is coming
For
in.
sure.
And you got all those little voices coming in at you. And you're fatigued. Oh, what are you going to do? It's super easy to get overwhelmed. And sometimes you might just say, I can't hack it. Like, I'm giving up on this homeschool thing. But that's not necessarily the answer.
Yeah, the truth is most homeschoolers just try to do too much.
They do.
Yeah, I posted a reel recently on Instagram. It was like, are you trying to do all of the subjects in one day? And guess what? Most of us homeschoolers are actually trying to do it all. And if we're not literally trying to teach all of the subjects in one day, we are expecting ourselves to anyway and feeling like we're selling our children short.
Yeah, we carry a lot
education.
of guilt about that. And that's just not healthy. So we wanted to share today a very simple, very easy to remember method for how to structure a day that will both be good for your child. It's going to hit all the things your child or children need, and it's going to be good for you, and it's going to help you keep going on this homeschooling journey. Okay, and now you already gave us a little preview, but let's dig into those. So the first thing you want to focus on is you want to give 1 lesson or activity that you're going to teach or model with your child every day. So just the one lesson that you're going to teach or model with your child every day.
Yes. Now, 1 lesson feels like kind of a slacking off to a lot of parents. And it's true that, if you teach that 1 lesson a day, you're in a really good space, you might be having fun with your kid, and you might be like, is it okay to teach more than 1 lesson? And it is. But planning for too many at once can just be so overwhelming. Do you want to grab our little cards right there?
Yeah.
We could show our planning cards.
Absolutely.
So the members in our community, they actually pick a lesson from our scope and sequence. These are the Montessori lessons, all in these beautiful little Montessori planning cards. And you literally would just pick a card, and at the beginning of the week, they had kind of decided, like, I'm going to teach these lessons this week. And we don't have them pick too many cards per week. But really, a great goal is 1 lesson that you're going to give. But this doesn't mean that that's the only thing your child is going to do that day in terms of homeschooling.
No, that's right. I think this is where we kind of get confused a bit, because a lot of us, we had a traditional school experience where you go to first period, and now you're going to go to second period, and now you're studying this thing, or even in college, right? If you went to college, you went to this course, and then you walked across the campus, and you went to that. It's very, very discipline segregated.
Yeah.
That's not actually the best way to learn or to teach. It's not the most fun. It's not the most authentic. It doesn't give you the best results. It's just the easiest to systematize. That's why we do it that way. And it also there's other reasons, but it's largely not because it's the best method for children or teachers. It's because it's good for the system and for the powers that be.
When you're at school, you have a lot of time to fill.
Well, that's true. But a better way to do it is thematic, whole discipline, interdisciplinary learning, where you're drawing in lots of concepts from many different disciplines, academic areas, into a central concept that you're studying. So that one lesson that you're going to teach today is not just going to be, I want to sing the alphabet song. It's going to be something meatier that's going to bring in a variety of concepts. So for example, I just calling an audible here.
Yeah.
Okay. This is from coil. So if you're in our community, you'll be doing this. This is quilling paper into coils. I just picked this one at random. This is from our current month, which is on coil. So this is our thematic unit pack. And this is specifically an art activity. But what the child is going to do is they're going to do quilling. It's an old and beautiful art. And that's why it is an art lesson. But there's also reading, there's geometry, there's practical life, sensorial, all packed into this one concept. So when we say you're going to give your child one lesson or activity, we mean you're going to give them something meaty to work through that's going to really captivate their attention, and it's going to be fun for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for you. And I think often we think that we're going to teach this one lesson and it's going to be the beginning and the end of that experience. And in Montessori, that's not the case. We want to prepare our environment with lessons that we've already given our children. You know, these are all of the things on your Montessori shelf. They should be things that your child has permission already to do, that they've already had the lesson for. Mm-hmm. And it's the same when you're doing an art activity or something. You're showing your child how to do something. You really only need to show your child how to do something for the very first time, like once a day. Like that's enough direct teaching to really motivate your child to want to pursue things.
Yeah, and that actually is an important point you just brought up. So when we talk about focusing on your goal is to give one lesson and making that something fun, captivating, interesting, what we call direct teaching, the part where you're actually giving the direct instruction, it might be in fact, it should be very small, right? It depends on the age of the child. The younger the child, the more direct modeling. The older the child, the more you're going to converse through it. But in all cases, what you want to do is give them a little bit of a nugget, like a seed, and then you want to let the imagination bloom, and you're going to work with them, which then leads us to the second thing to focus on in your plan. So we got some balloons. Thank you. I love it. We got one lesson to teach today. It's going to be a fun lesson. And the second is independent work time for your child.
Right. So, this really it comes after the lesson that you teach, right? So you are planning for that one lesson, and so every day you're writing yourself down, like, I'm going to model this one thing or teach this one specific thing for my child to do. But what does your child do for the rest of the day? There's a variety of activities that you could be doing. Some of those are going to be practical. You're going to be cooking lunch together. You're going to be going through the rest of your day. But also you should be reserving space for your child to be choosing among all of the other lessons that you have ever given them.
That's right.
So if you've done your work and you've prepared your environment with a variety of things that they already know how to do, they've already had all these lessons, like, let's give them some time to actually practice these things.
That's right.
And maybe it's going to be an art activity, like you've shown them how to do quilling, and if you've modeled this for them yourself, maybe they will incorporate that into their future art.
Yeah, maybe they'll continue to sit there and they'll be fascinated. Maybe it doesn't strike their fancy that day. We've all had that. But then it comes back around because you've made it available. And this is where the independent work comes in. There's many, many, many reasons why you want to provide independent work time to your child. And one of the big ones is you're trying to help the child learn to be self-entertaining. Right? It's super important that children have an opportunity to be bored. We need them to be in situations where they have to pull from their creative imagination. This is much easier for little guys than it is for the older ones. But it starts with the modeling. When we give kids a chance to have to go and entertain themselves through the learning, we give them that environment, you're giving them skills that will last them for their entire life. So that is one of the major reasons you want to make sure they have independent work time.
Yeah, your child needs unstructured time throughout the day.
That's right. They also need that unstructured time to process the stuff that you've given them. So if we're going to go back to the idea of the cards, you're going to teach one lesson with them, and then you're going to have provided for them a variety of things for them to experiment with, play with, work through that you have drawn from your lesson plan. So for our system, that would be based on the cards that you have pulled for that week, whatever your lesson planning system might be, that you have prepared your environment. And you will have given some brief lesson already so that they know what to do. And then you're going to give them time to go out and have some fun.
That's right. Yeah. Most children who are in school generally don't get enough unstructured time.
Yeah.
Now, in the online internet homeschooling world, we have the concept of unschooling. Unschoolers go full on with all of the unstructured time, and that part is awesome. In the Montessori approach, we also add in some direct teaching lessons.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Yes, it's absolutely a balance for us. And we value the preparation that you're doing with your home environment and the direct teaching, the little bit of modeling that you're giving, the intentional teaching that you're giving is really, really important.
That's right.
And the unstructured time is important. So like we have all three of those things, and your child is just engaging in this very supportive, nurturing space of homeschooling. It's just beautiful. Yeah. So it's very, very important that you provide both of those things. The other benefits to having that independent work time is that it really helps you to have some time to not just be on all the time. And this is so important. If you are constantly feeling like you are in charge of your child's time every single minute of the day, they don't have time to dream, and you don't have time to rest. So what are you doing?
Get your chores done, or
get chores done, right?
Clear your mind.
What are you doing during this unstructured work period that your child has? People don't generally think of Montessori as like an unstructured work period, but it is. It's choice time for your child to choose what motivates them. And sometimes what motivates them is to hang out with you. Sometimes what motivates them is to eat. And sometimes what motivates them is to go play with their stuff, right? Yeah. So it's all good, but what are you doing during this period? Well, in our primary course and during office hours, when we are helping our members, we often remind them that it is your job to be modeling your regular daily life, the things that you like to do, and to give yourself time to explore and nurture yourself while you're in front of your children.
Yeah.
So some things that you can do that are really easy are you can go get a book of Maria Montessori's and open it up and read a little section of it, like right there in the middle of when your child is having this unstructured work period. This is like a great thing to do to model personal research and personal development. And
you're showing reading. What adults do. This is a way
That's
that
right.
adults live and behave.
That's right.
And that is that they read, if that's important to you to read.
Yes. Another thing that you might consider doing is just sitting down and getting out some kind of hobby or craft that you really enjoy, or maybe taking up a new hobby or craft. I know your mom is really into scrapbooking. Like that.
Yes.
That is really her thing.
And my sister loves to knit.
Your sister loves to knit. I know we have members in our community. Crochet is like having a moment right now, apparently.
Felting.
It's super popular. Oh, felting, yes. Yeah. I remember this period when we were homeschooling our young children. You were working full-time in an office. I was home with them all day. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Just being with children constantly all the time, just like hovering over them, is boring.
And it's not good for them.
It's not healthy for them, and it's not healthy for you. What you're teaching them is that adults are just supposed to sit around and watch other people.
Yeah, or to serve them at all times.
Right.
Or never to let them be bored or have to figure it out on their own. It's infantilizing.
Yeah, so, it's really important that you keep yourself from being bored as a homeschooler, and that you are modeling for your child like the learning process. And I love seeing our members do this when they take our courses in lower elementary and in the primary courses that our members are in. When we're teaching those courses, their children often see us like on live video. Because their parents like are very, very open about like, I'm studying Montessori, or I'm learning about lessons to teach you.
You have your work.
Right.
We have our work.
My work is to learn more about education. My work is to learn the right lessons. And so
your work might be to vacuum the floor. We've certainly been in those positions too.
It might be. But your work can also be studying, the curriculum. And it's a really wonderful thing to model. So often our members will like be sitting there like with the lesson guide in front of them, studying, thinking about the lessons, maybe taking notes, doing that documentation, observing. Right now we have members who are working through the Loving Discipline course. All right. And there's, in our courses, of course, there are learning journals that come with everything. And so what do the children see our members doing? They see them like writing, and that is such a healthy thing for children to see parents do, is to write purposefully for themselves, to read purposefully for themselves, to watch media that's actually engaging and educational and not just junk.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And so those were the years when I felt like I became more of a Montessori expert. I mean, I hesitate to say the word expert because really only Maria Montessori is the expert of herself, right? Was the expert of herself. And so I think it's silly.
You're being
to
too
call
humble.
yourself
You
an
do
expert.
know a lot.
But those were the years when I just obsessively read every single thing that she wrote, that I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
And so whatever that is for you, maybe it is Montessori for you. Maybe it is like everything John Holt ever wrote like for you. Or for me, it was also everything Alfie Kohn ever wrote, because I was really into learning about discipline. So read what you love to read and what you really want to find out more on, and your children are going to notice that in a big way. All right. So it is healthy for them. They're not just seeing you only being the person who folds the laundry and sweeps the floor, but also seeing you as a person who has genuine interests and hobbies and cares about learning new things. Those were the years when I learned to watercolor, knit. What else was I doing? I was playing a lot with wool. I was like needle felting and dyeing. I learned how to dye with natural dyes and also Kool-Aid. I was making place silks. Like I really just, I'm a very creative minded person anyway, and so it was just like a really fun opportunity to give my children this unstructured work period where I also was working. And
and that's the key here to the second tip, is that it's about the independent work. You have your work, and that is your beads or whatever you're doing. Making more quilling. And I have my work, and my work might be study. It might be house chores. It might be helping the baby. It might be something else. Remember, play is the work of the child.
That's right.
So for you, when you're modeling and you're doing your purposeful work, you're wanting to equate to them that your purposeful work and their purposeful work are of equal value.
That's right. Write that one down. Can you say that again?
Your purposeful work and their purposeful work are of equal value.
Yeah.
And that's what this second focus is about, right? So the first one is you're going to introduce something, you're going to have that time to learn together. That's the new lesson. The second is such as equally important, perhaps more important, is that you're giving them time to explore creatively and independently, and you are demonstrating that their work and your work are equally valuable. And they should respect your work, and you respect their work. It creates a healthy thing. Now, the third piece of this, the third focus, is something you've kind of talked on a bit already with some of these hobbies.
Because it overlaps,
It does, and that is you need to have time for yourself. I think this one is really hard for parents. We all struggle with this. We feel like if we're not working at 100%, I think especially a lot of folks here in the homeschool community, We have a certain kind of mindset. We're taking on a lot of the responsibility. We know that, and we feel that very, very intensely, which is completely understandable. There's nothing more important than how we work with our family and our family life, and raising our little ones to be good, happy, productive members in this world. Like, there's nothing more important on the earth than that. So of course the responsibility is there, but we cannot be ourselves if we don't feel good about ourselves.
Yep.
So that third piece is probably the hardest for most people to take in, but it is essential. That's why it's on the list. And that is, you need to have time for self-care.
Yep.
Now, self-care can look like a lot of things. You gave some examples.
Does. Yeah. Self-care can look like hobbies, and it can look like being busy and active. It definitely can. I was really known as the kind of stay-at-home mom, homeschooler, who literally almost never got time without the kids.
Sure.
David had a very intense work schedule at that time. He came home very late at night, often was traveling, sometimes out of the country for sometimes weeks. And we lived far away from family. We didn't have grandma to just race over and come babysit the kids. I love you, grandmas who are watching this. I know you would if you could, and you helped when you could. But the truth is, I spent a lot of time with the kids without an extra caregiver to take over during the day.
Yeah.
All right. And I would kind of laugh sometimes when, moms talked about taking themselves off to the spa to have spa day and stuff, because that was not my life. If that is self-care for you, then that's great. What self-care became for me was taking my intentional self-care time during the homeschool day with the kids around. And what were the kids doing? Well, I knew that self-care time could not happen between like 4 in the afternoon and bedtime, right?
Yeah.
Like late afternoon. And honestly, like that is when I was the most tired, when we had little kids. And it was very, very hard. If we're talking about like loving discipline in that course that I'm teaching right now, that is the time of day when I was most likely to lose it, to yell, to like shut down, or to respond uncompassionately and unlovingly,
Lose your cool.
Yes, it is very hard when you're too tired and you need that respite. And so what I learned to do was build in these moments of self-care during the school day itself. And what it looked like for me was establishing rituals that I engaged with every day, things that I really love to do, that I would do every single day consistently. And one of them, yes, was intentionally reading Maria Montessori's books. It would be in the middle of work time, not during a time when I was directly teaching, obviously, but sometime during that unstructured period of time, I would get up and go and get my book out, and then I would sit down away from the kids and cuddle up on the couch with blankets of my own. And sometimes they would be kind of crawling over to see what I was doing. But pretty soon they found that what I was doing wasn't really that interesting to them. So,
and you weren't going to stop.
I wasn't going to stop. And that is, I think, something that the children, I think that is something that trips parents up, is they think, oh, because my child, I'm here reading a book, or I'm doing a thing I love doing. Right. And then you have that going on, and then you think, I give up. Right. Well, if you give up, you're teaching your kid, number one,
this works.
That this work that you're doing is not right? It's not important.
That's right.
And that all they have to do is tug on you enough or whine enough, and you will stop what you're doing and give them your attention. And I will say, I think that as parents, we are endowed with the ability to tell when our children really need our attention or not. If your child really needs your attention, obviously.
We all know a real cry from a fake cry. I don't know why, but we all know it.
Obviously, it is okay. I'm not saying just ignore your kids all the time, but I am saying it is okay to tell your child that you're not available. And those are the words that I used a lot. I would say, oh, I really see that you need my attention. Is it super important right now? And they would say, oh, yes, blah, blah, blah. And so I would say, okay, that sounds like something I can take care of later. I'd be happy to take care of that for you later, or I'd be happy to teach that to you later, or I'd be happy to play with you later. Right now I am And then I would explain what I was doing, and I would just say, I'm just not available, and then I also would explain to them when they were older, when they were like in their preschool years, not necessarily two, but like when they were older, I would explain to them during those moments and say, hey, I'm not available to you right now. Here's why, and then I would say, I'm going to sit here on the couch and finish reading my book. And sometimes it was a win and they'd be like, okay, cool with me.
Yeah.
And they'd go on and do their thing. And sometimes they wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, no, I'm going to get more obnoxious until you stop. And I would make a point of finishing my reading, even if it was just like 2 minutes long. I'm like, okay, I can't do this any longer. I'm going to finish. And so then I would emphatically turn the page and say, well, now I'm done. I've taken care of reading and I did what I needed to do. And that taught our kids a really important lesson.
Yeah, so I'm going to pause you real quick because we have a comment here on Instagram. Jess at Life, she says, my toddler wants my attention and tries to take the thing off my hands.
Yeah.
I've tried crochet and diamond painting with him around to no avail. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's your advice to Jess? I mean, I think you were just kind of hinting at it, but what comes to mind?
Okay, so first, Jess, you are in this really hard period with your toddler. Your toddler will grow up. All right, so you might it might be another 6 months and then this will work for you. But the other thing that came into mind for me literally was a memory of doing these kinds of things while standing up. I know that sounds so silly, right? But I really did. I had a flashback of oh yeah, I remember that. And so I remember sometimes standing and doing the reading or, doing whatever it was that I was busy doing. Just know that this is a process. Maybe right now your self-care is in little 2-minute pockets. All right. Your toddler obviously is not going to be able to wait that long right now. So maybe it starts with smaller little periods. And then as they grow and as they get used to seeing you do these things repeatedly, it will continue if you're persistent.
Yeah, it's not an instantaneous thing. And I think that's a great point as we're kind of wrapping up these 3 points. We call them 3 focuses, right? So every day you want to, again, have that lesson, a direct teach, model some kind of activity with the child.
Yep.
You want to give them 2, second focus, a lot of independent work. And 3, you want to take time for yourself, self-care. Depending on the age and readiness of the child, and that's something you can learn, Montessori lays out a lot of that. If you join us in our programs, we can teach you what those are and the signs to look for. But depending on the age of the child, you're going to have more or less success in each of those 3 phases. So to your point about a real little one, self-care might be really hard and you get just little bitty slivers. But it's important to stick to it because you're setting the pattern.
Yep.
And children develop very quickly. So that toddler is going to be a 3 or 4-year-old before you know it. And they're going to be in a totally different mindset. And then if you created a structure where these are the 3 things that we do every day, and they're all important, and we're all going to respect them, you're going to have an easier time continuing that forward.
Your child will learn to look for that consistency. They will get used to it too. They will get used to you having some self-care time throughout the day in little pockets. And they will get used to having a lesson every day. And if you don't do a lesson every day and make a point of hey, now it's time for our lesson, then the times that you do say, hey, now it's time for a lesson, your child is going to be like, now I'm going to go play with my cubbies instead, right? I don't want a lesson. But if you do it every day and you're really consistent with it, and be clear that I mean every homeschool day. Obviously, if you're doing something on the weekends and, you're getting out. For us, David was home most weekends and available to our kids. And so we said we homeschooled on the weekends because he was involved, but I wasn't planning that lesson.
Well, I'm gonna contradict you a little bit. Because
Are you?
Yeah, because I actually think we were very consistent about this without even necessarily being intentional.
Yeah.
And I think this goes to what I was just saying about the size or the amount of time that you might spend on each of these 3 phases will vary based on your child.
Tell me more about what you remember.
Well,
no.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, you pressed the wrong button.
We're back, Instagram.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, so what I was saying was that so again, the 3 phases will vary, your mileage will vary based on the child's age, readiness, other things that are going on, other life circumstances. What you decide to call a lesson is your choice.
Okay, that is true.
So you go to the park and you look at trees and you talk about the birds, that can be a lesson, right?
Yep.
It doesn't have to be, now we're going to sit down and do quilling.
That's right.
Quilling. Like it could be, that is an awesome thing to do. Or we're going to sit down and we're going to use the movable alphabet to write our name. Awesome lesson. You definitely want to work that in. But if you've got other things going on, you go to the zoo, you go on a play date, you have just you have a pajama day and you make pancakes for breakfast.
Yeah.
That's your lesson.
That's right.
And actually you'll find those skills in the core curriculum.
They're all still in here. Yeah.
Yeah, even though you might be thinking like pancake making, it is in there. It's practical life. There's science,
It's
measurement, mathematics. It's actually teaching that's exactly the essence of what thematic unit learning looks like. It is applying concepts in a real practical way. So what you choose to call the lesson of the day is your choice.
Right.
And if you use that language consistently with your child, they'll begin to think about it in those terms. Like, this is our lesson. Now you guys are going to go and play, or you're going to have some work time or whatever you call it. And I'm going to do some self-care. And you're going to do those things consistently every day.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Do we have
Beautiful.
any other questions? I think that was a great question, Jess.
Yeah,
If you
it was
have
a
any
really
other-
good question.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that topic right now? I'm
Yeah.
just kind of skimming through the comments. Oh, it just says that she has a stand-up desk.
Ah.
Yes. Ooh, interesting. Let me know how that one goes. I love that.
I have a question.
You do, Mr. Bunny.
What is
your question?
Well, I was wondering if eating carrots counts as independent work time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good.
Absolutely. Snack is definitely part of work time.
Oh, good.
Oh, what? What is it, Mr. Bunny?
I don't like that thing.
What, you don't like what? What thing?
Yeah, no.
it's-
Oh, there.
Is it the snake?
I don't like it. Snakes are scary.
You know what? I understand that. You know, rabbits, I think bunnies generally have a biological imperative to be scared of snakes.
Well, I think most of us do. Yeah.
Most of us do. That's true. But Mr. Bunny, the snake is very nice. He's my little pet snake.
Pet
And
snake?
you know what? I know that snakes can seem scary, but they're just little creatures. And sometimes snakes are also scared of you.
Really?
Yeah, look how tiny he is.
Oh, he is very tiny.
He's very, very
But I'm just a
tiny.
bunny and he's a snake, and snakes can eat you.
Well, I don't think this little guy is going to eat you, Mr. Bunny.
Oh.
You know, sometimes when we learn about creatures that we're scared of,
Yeah.
it makes us less scared.
Well,
Would you like to learn some things about snakes?
okay.
All right, well, snakes have scales.
Oh,
You see all the scales on the little snake?
yes.
All right, and snakes also have eyes, just like you. See his little eyes?
Yeah,
Aren't they cute?
I have eyes.
Yeah. And snakes also can do some really cool things
yeah?
that we can't do. Well, snakes have mouths, and you can see like his mouth is closed right now, right? But when he is really, really hungry and he wants to eat something, like a little mouse or something, not like a bunny,
Okay.
not this little snake. Some snakes could eat bunnies or people,
Oh.
but not this little one. But what he does is his jaw will unhook and it will become really, really, really big. Can you try and open your mouth like that? Just like that.
Whoa,
Yeah, just like
wow.
that. Don't you think those kind of things make snakes a little bit less scary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I?
Would you like to pet him? You
Yeah.
may. Would you like just very gently with one little finger pet him right there?
Oh,
Isn't he silky?
I like him.
Yeah, I like the way snakes feel.
All right. Well, I feel better already.
Me too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, Mr. Bunny. All right. we have a fun activity for you if you're still with us here on the Power Hour. There is a fun activity. Excuse me, I just have an allergy attack or something is going on today. But I wanted to show you a little peek inside COIL. We have an activity that our members have been really loving that's really, really cute. And it's a classic Montessori activity. If you hold up that box again, we'll show you what category it goes in.
Ta-da!
It is a scissor cutting activity that is a Montessori lesson. It is found inside probably the arts.
Well, you're going to
Could
find
be
it.
practical life
yes.
as well.
So cutting on a line, I think, is going to be in the arts for primary. So it's going to be like a level. Cutting a circle like this is probably a level 2 or 3. So it's a little more advanced. You're going to start by having the child just cut straight. But then they're going to work up to cutting into more intricate ways. And it is a classic. So it is an art. It's also under practical life because you're practicing gross motor and I guess fine motor depending on the shape and size of the scissors. Now, if you're interested in scissors particularly, we did a pretty good video a couple years ago. It's in our archive all about safe scissor usage. So you might go check that out depending on where you are, if your child, especially is in kind of the primary years.
Okay, this lesson is the Emerald Spirals lesson, I believe. That's on page 13. I'm going to go there now.
All right. Here.
Emerald Spirals. So this is what the lesson looks like. So those of you who are in our membership and you have access to the constellation themes, you'll find this here on page 13. So it says, print and cut out the spiral emerald tree boa cards. And we have those cards right here. I don't think we printed them out today, but
yeah, these are the
them
spirals.
right
Yeah, hold on, let me switch.
Yep. Are you going to switch down?
There we go. I'm going to show them the cards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See how they're right here? So it's a picture of an emerald tree boa and also a little information card about the emerald
Now, what's
tree
cool
boa.
about the tree boa in particular, and you get to see it here, is that the emerald tree boa, when it is an adult, is emerald green. And when that emerald tree boa is itty bitty juvenile baby, it is like orange red.
Yes, it's totally different color.
Yeah, isn't that cool? So so for this kind of lesson, this is kind of this is an example of the thematic learning, right? So the heart of the lesson is we're going to make some little snakes by cutting on the line. Mr. Bunny was no longer afraid of that. But we're going to start by talking about real snakes. We're going to give a
While you talk about that, I'm just going to start cutting. So.
Yeah, so you're going to start by giving a real lesson on emerald boas. You're going to want to show them a picture. If you're in our community, you'll have the pictures right here. You can get some books as well, and you're going to read them some facts about it to kind of get them going, right? So this is actual straight on life science. And then you're going to, following the directions in the pack, you're going to start to cut out the spiral. Let me switch to the top.
Okay. All right, we'll back up for our YouTube friends so you can see what we're doing. So I'm just cutting around this spiral and honestly not even quite perfectly. It doesn't really matter. Just cutting around. And what I would have done with my child before doing this cutting work is have them color it somehow. So when I was in the classroom, we would print these on green colored paper. So that's a trick that you can use. What we encouraged our members to do, however, is to have their child go ahead and watercolor it or use markers or whatever to decorate it and color it in whatever way they like. If you want to do a realistic, but you're going to show them the emerald tree boa picture first.
Yeah, and you're going to have, in this pack, we have two sizes. We have one to represent the juvenile, so it's slightly smaller, but not too small, so it's still doable by a little hand. And then a larger one to represent the adult. And then there's also some shapes here that represent the heads that you can tape on. But yeah, so you might look at a picture or for our cover art for this month, We did an illustration of an emerald tree boa, so they might look at a drawing, they might look at a real picture, and then have fun, like watercolor, pencil, whatever they want to do to bring the snake to life.
Yes, so we also have these little heads, and we have a larger head template and a smaller head template. I'll show them here as well. So I'll go ahead and cut this out, and you can kind of get an idea of what it'll look like. I'm not going to glue them today or decorate them today, but you'll get an idea. And they're really easy to make. You can do this with just, a marker at home and some green construction paper, and you're good to go.
You could take this and use it as a template and trace it onto a cereal box, and then you could trace a bunch of them.
Could, yeah. That is probably, excuse me. Ooh, I thought I was going to sneeze. Okay, sneeze accomplished. All right, you probably can't, you never know what's going to happen on a power hour. I swear, I was fine an hour ago. All right. So,
Sneezy hour.
It's the sneezy hour. All right, so we've got this little head, and you can attach it to your snake with the Montessori gluing strategy with a little paintbrush that you use for glue.
And we also have a video on that in our archive if you want to go back and check it out.
There is. And this is actually the fun part. The super fun part is there are two things you really can that I would recommend you do with these snakes. We are encouraging our members to decorate their homes with them if they're studying coil.
Kind of spring.
Yeah, if they're doing the study with us. But what I had written in here was to find a branch, because the emerald tree boa really does like wrap themselves around a branch. And so, do you see that piece of wood? Ooh. I love this. We found this as a piece of driftwood that we found it at the beach, and I love it especially because it looks to me like a whale. Do you see the whale? I don't know if, yeah, you've got us on top down. Can you guys see that? Doesn't that just look like a whale? I just love it so much. So you're going to take a stick that you found in nature. Go ahead and hold that.
Yes.
And then let's pretend like this little head.
I am the tree.
And then you can wrap your tree boa around your stick.
Isn't that fun?
How fun is that? So we have been getting a whole lot of pictures in from members who are doing this activity and have made some really fun displays, with snakes. You could also, if you wanted to, take the snake tail part and put a string on it and hang it from your ceiling. I used to do this when I was teaching snakes to the kids in the kindergarten class. We would hang the little snakes from the ceilings so that they were kind of spiraled around. We did this with our kids at home as well.
We actually made a little tree out of paper in their room, remember? Like a jungle tree. And
I do. So cute. So it's a really easy and fun craft. You can find it inside Coil if you would like the templates to go along with it, or you can just make it yourself at home with your kids.
But if you would like these templates, if you're in the community, go grab it. You should already have a copy. If you're not a member and you'd like to try it out, this is the theme of the month. So if you join the free trial, you can download a copy of Coil today and try it out, plus all the other activities in there to get a sense of what thematic learning can do for you. And to kind of tie back to our first segment, so this would be the lesson that you give. And then you would make this available, the template, maybe on the cereal box, or you've printed out extra copies or whatever, you've put them on a tray, and you've made that available to your child. So during the independent work time, if they are inspired by it, they can go and make more little snakies. And maybe you've got some books around there. We always recommend books in our packs. So maybe you've checked out some of those books from the library and they're looking at the pictures of the snakes, and that's their independent work, right? And that is how you want to put these kind of ideas to work. You've introduced the concept. It's got a lot of core concepts built into it, including life science, practical life, and art. And then you're making it available to the child to go and have fun with. And if they don't find it intriguing at that moment, fine, you're going to move on. There's lots of other lessons to give them. And I guarantee, in fact, that if they don't find it exciting the first time you give it, it's going to come back. It always does.
Yes.
It always just lodges in the mind. And maybe they were like Mr. Bunny, a little bit afraid of snakes, and they weren't quite ready to make little paper snakes, or maybe it just didn't tickle the fancy at the moment. We never know. But you gave the lesson, and they'll be ready for it when they're ready for it, and that's
right.
what matters.
The observant mind is always at work. No matter what lesson you're giving, it's going to have some kind of impact.
That's right.
right.
All right. Well, we are at time. Let's see if we have any final questions or comments out there in the audience. We've got a nice crew of folks both on YouTube and here at Instagram. We want to thank everybody who's joined us. We'll just give a quick second to let everybody make any final comments. I like this coil activity.
Yes.
I remember making these as kids. And you can do so many varieties of this too, right? Like these are little snakies, but you can do springs and you can do other shapes. And remember cutting, I loved the ones where you would cut the box and it would make a springy box. Remember that one?
A box?
Yeah,
oh, yes. You could do different shapes as well.
Now, there aren't any box snakes that I'm aware of, but could
we
be a
have
first.
a whole scissor cutting sequence. It's in our unlimited members have total access to it.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you're looking to fill out your scissor cutting sequence for your kids.
Yeah, we have a whole pack of different shapes to cut.
That's right.
yeah.
That's in there.
Yeah. All right. We want to thank everybody again. If you'd like to know more about our work, please visit us on our website, childoftheredwoods.com. You can also email us at hello@childoftheredwoods.com. If you're on Instagram or you're on YouTube and you want to reach us on Instagram, we post there regularly. You can reach us there. And you can even chat with us. Most days of the week, we are available to chat for our website. So go over to childoftheredwoods.com. You'll see a little button that says talk to us. And if we are available, we will be happy to pop up and answer any questions you have about our work or anything else that comes to mind regarding the Montessori method and how to use it at home.
That's right. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Take care.
Take care.